You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Greetings, Rainbow Warriors. I'm still in this massive forest in France and waking up with such profound gratitude each day that I'm living this yo-mad lifestyle and sharing yoga all over the world. Are you following my Instagram feed yet? Have you joined my Visionary Lifestyle and podcast page and group yet? The community is growing and we want you to be a part of it. Check the show notes for links to my accounts and please do keep in touch. I love hearing from you and answering your questions, so please keep them coming. I truly hope you're enjoying the show and sharing it with those you think could benefit from it. So today's guest is yoga legend Sharon Gannon. Sharon is a 21st century Renaissance woman, an animal rights and vegan activist, and a world-renowned yogini, perhaps best known as the founder, along with David Life, of the Jivamukti Yoga Method. She is also an accomplished writer, dancer, painter, musician, and chef. Sharon has devoted many years exploring the role of diet in promoting physical, emotional, and mental well-being, as well as spiritual development. She lives in a 125-acre wild forest sanctuary in Woodstock, New York. She is a pioneer in teaching yoga as spiritual activism and is credited for making yoga cool and hip, relating ancient teachings of yoga to the modern world. Sharon's book, Yoga and Vegetarianism, has been called the seminal work on the subject, exploring the relationship of veganism to the teachings of yoga. Sharon is also a musician and is a featured vocalist on many CDs. She has produced numerous yoga-related DVDs and is the author of several books on yoga. Her latest offering is Simple Recipes for Joy, more than 200 delicious vegan recipes. Yum! A beautifully illustrated cookbook with recipes that are featured in the Jivamukti Cafe in New York. Sharon's writing has also appeared in numerous publications. I met Sharon at the International Yoga Day at the United Nations in New York last year, where she was teaching a class. I was moved by many of the words she shared, so I caught up with her a few days later at the Jivamukti School near Union Square that she founded with her husband, David Life. We talked yoga, and she spelled out the ideal yogi diet. Sharon has a fresh take on the subject, really breaking it down from a yogic perspective. I learned so much in this conversation, and I hope you do too. I urge you to read her book, Yoga and Vegetarianism, as a follow-up to listening to this show. If you consider yourself a yogi or are on the yogic path at all, I'd say this is required reading. I hope you find some inspiration and empowerment from this conversation, just as I did. Enjoy and namaste. Sharon Gannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you. We are sitting in the Jivamukti Yoga School in New York City, right near Union Square, right? And it's a big bustle outside, and it's all peace inside here. It's really beautiful. And you've got the cafe here, which is so exciting to see that. And I saw your cookbook sitting in there, your recipe book. And the thing I would love to focus on with you today is the ideal yogi diet. Because, we talk about the 8 limbs of yoga, and there's so many facets of yoga that we can talk about. But one that I feel is not discussed enough is what yogis should be eating to, reach that 8th limb of samadhi. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, a vegan diet is the diet of enlightenment. Why? Because it's the compassionate diet. It brings more joy into the world. The biggest obstacle to yoga, to the yogic realization of the oneness of being, samadhi, the realization of bliss, satchit, ananda, is others. When we see others, then we're in the unenlightened state. An enlightened being doesn't see others. An enlightened being looks out and sees God, or sees their own self, their own higher self. So the yoga practices, and there are many of them, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, meditation, yama, niyama, chanting the name of God, serving God, all of these practices are all designed to help us understand who we are and the illusion of otherness. So they help us to get rid of otherness, basically. And through compassion. Compassion is the direct means to enlightenment, to see yourself in others, to see so deeply that otherness disappears. So all of these practices help us to purify our perception and to rid us of otherness. So the vegan diet causes the least amount of harm, and it allows us to see the self in those other animals. There are many reasons why a normal person might choose a vegan diet. Basically, there are three. It's better for the environment. This is a proven fact. The UN, United Nations, put out a report that said the biggest cause of global warming was raising animals for food. So raising animals for food and all that that entails is polluting the planet. Herbicides, pesticides, the animals that they're fed food that is heavily laden with pesticides and herbicides, genetically modified. So this is destroying our planet. Raising animals for food is the biggest cause of water pollution and the use of water. So there are many, many reasons, why an environmentalist should choose a vegan diet, and those are all good reasons. Another reason why a normal person might choose to be vegan is human health. This is a proven medical fact that a vegan diet is better for human health. The major causes of diseases that plague human beings today, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, obesity, all of these things can be linked to eating other animals. I say other animals because I just want to clarify, human beings, we're animals too. We're one animal among many species. So I think, that kind of conditioning that all of us have been subject to, that human beings are somehow a superior entity. We're animals. We're animals, we're mammals. I mean, I'm not trying to put us down, but we're one animal. That's just a biological fact. One animal among many. So it helps in overcoming this otherness thing if we acknowledge that. So the third reason why a normal person might choose to be a vegan is out of compassion for the animals. Animal rights, like knowing the suffering and knowing that it's wrong to inflict that suffering on another being who can feel, who's intelligent. All the animals raised for food are enslaved. I think any human being on the planet today, if you ask them, do you support slavery? They would probably give you a hearty no. Right. That's something of the past that we did, that we're embarrassed about. It's shameful. We don't want it to be continued. And yet, if you ask them, well, do you eat meat? Or do you drink milk products? Take milk products? Many of them will say, well, yes. Well, do you know that all those animals are slaves? Well, I don't know, I didn't think of it. Okay, so those are the three main reasons why a normal person would choose to be vegan. Environment, human health, and animal rights. To the yogi, there's a fourth reason. As if those 3 reasons aren't good enough. But to the 4th, we have another little niche, you know, karma. Karma. A yogi understands that whatever we do to others will eventually, but inevitably, be done to us. So if we don't want to be a slave in a factory farm next lifetime, best to choose soy milk or almond milk and certainly eat a plant-based diet and not contribute to such suffering, because we will suffer. We're that powerful, our actions are that powerful, that whatever we do, we create the reality in which we live. For the karma, if we want to be enlightened, kindness is the way. In fact, there are only 2 jobs that a human being has in this lifetime. To remember God. I mean, God is a buzzword. Many people are not comfortable with that. You can replace it with the Supreme Being or the Supreme Self, or but it should be something more than your own limited ego. So to remember means to reconnect. That's what yoga is. So to remember God and to be kind to others. Without being kind to others, yoga is not possible. It's not possible to remember God. No unkind person can become an enlightened being. So a vegan choice is the kindest choice.
Right. Yeah, so you've touched on a lot of the things that I talk about a lot as in my conscious eating work. I teach it as food choice is an expression of love, self-love, animal love, and planet love, the 3 that you covered. And I love this, adding that 4th layer of karma specifically for the yogis, because I really do want to get the message to the yogis, you know, twofold. My mission is twofold. One is to educate more about the 8 limbs of yoga, because in the Western world, right, we're so focused on the 3rd limb of yoga, just the asana. It's become the westernized version of yoga is so focused on just the asana, right? So expanding that, the understanding of true yoga for people is one of my missions with this podcast. And, you know, also the conscious eating work and helping yogis align their food choices with their values, right? Because yoga, the first tenet of yoga is ahimsa, right? Ahimsa. So when we talk about doing no harm, it's with ourselves, but also with all the sentient beings that we share the planet with, and the planet herself, right? Yes. So to me, it's just super logical that if we're going to be yogis and practicing ahimsa, you know, starting at the base, starting at the first tenet of yoga, ahimsa, it follows logically for that to be the diet of choice, right? A plant-based diet that does the least harm.
Yes.
Right? It makes total sense. So why do you think so many people are disconnected? How do we help the people that are not making that connection? How do we get them?
Well,
get them to see it.
Ahimsa, nonviolence, has been around for a long, long time. It forms the foundation of most all religions and spiritual traditions in the world today. But to extend ahimsa, non-harming, to include other animals, no. This has not been something that has been done. And that's what you and me and several others, you know, have woken up, and we understand this, and we're doing that. So Patanjali says, you know, you mentioned ahimsa and the 8 limbs. That comes from Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Patanjali says to us, if you're not enlightened, but you want enlightenment, well, number 1, then you must restrain your behavior towards others if you're still seeing others. Once again, an enlightened being doesn't see others. But if you're reading the Yoga Sutra, you're still seeing others. You're a wannabe yogi, you're a wannabe enlightened being, right? So Patanjali says, okay, you want yoga, but you're not enlightened yet. You're seeing others. You look out there and you see others. You don't see the Supreme Self. Then, number one, he gives 5 ways to relate to others. Number 1, don't hurt them. Number 2, don't lie to them. Number 3, don't steal from them. Number 4, don't abuse them sexually. And number 5, don't be greedy so that you impoverish others. Okay, those are the 5 yamas. Each 5 yama can be linked to a vegan diet. Yes, ahimsa is normally and heavily pointed out to support a vegan diet, but the other 4 are very strong logical reasons. Brahmacharya, I think, is probably the strongest.
Because
don't abuse others sexually. What does it have to do with a vegan diet? Every animal that is raised for food is abused sexually. And this is something that most normal people don't know about. I mean, look at the dairy cow. She's tethered, she's raped repeatedly, because a cow cannot give milk unless she is pregnant or recently given birth. Many people don't even know that. They're so ignorant of it.
Yeah.
They think cows are animals that just give milk. No, they're mammals, like just a human. Yeah, they're people too. And like you or me, a woman, well, there's certain conditions that, that have to be there before our breasts will lactate.
Right.
So that cow is raped. And of course, then she's impregnated with a human hand who pushes with a syringe into her vagina. And remember, she can't turn around. She's tied, chained, standing on concrete. And the sperm that's in that syringe, that was also gotten through abuse, sexual abuse from a male and from a bull. I don't have to go into it more, we know, and we can kind of figure it out. Aparigraha, greed. Wow. We are the big consumers on this planet. We are the animal that consumes the most and is causing the impoverishment of all other human beings and animal species. The oceans, for instance, the oceans are being emptied of fish.
Right.
Most people don't really know that most of those fish that are taken from the oceans are not eaten by human beings.
Right.
They're being fed to animals. Dairy cows are fed more fish than any other animal raised for food. So, it might take 16 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of beef, but most people don't know that it also takes 50 pounds of fish to make that 1 pound of beef.
Oh, that's a statistic I have heard. Yeah. It's in your book. Okay.
So, it's like, why would we be feeding a gentle animal like a dairy cow fish? Because a dairy cow, if she had the choice, would not eat fish, but she's force-fed fish. It's ground up in a food, like a little kibble kind of food that she's force-fed. Why? To make the milk more rich. So she has to be given animal fat. So it's not only fish, but other animals as well are fed to, not just dairy cows, but pigs, all the animals that we...
Right? I had heard
pigs.
40% of the fish coming out of the ocean was going to feed pigs, is what I heard.
All of the animals, that are raised for food are being fed that fish, So, the 5 yamas really are advice from Patanjali thousands of years ago. And he gives us in the Yoga Sutra incentive. He doesn't just say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. But he says, if you do this, if you are kind to others, if you don't hurt them, then you will see certain changes happening to your life. Very good things. The karmic rebates, basically. And he says this for every one of those yamas. So he says, if you don't harm others, then others will stop harming you. He says, if you don't lie to others, and of course the whole meat and dairy industry is based on lies and advertising and filled with deceit and lies to the public. He says, if you don't lie, then when you speak, people will listen to you. That's something everybody wants, right?
Sure.
And he also says, if you, he says, satya pratishtayam. Pratishtayam means to be established in a practice. So he says, if you don't lie, then others will listen to you, and you will be able to say what you mean and to mean what you say. And then ashteya, non-stealing. Ashteya pratishtayam, if you become established in the practice of non-stealing, you will be wealthy. I mean, there's so many books, best-selling books, how to get rich. Stop stealing. Yeah. What does that have to do with a vegan diet? Yeah, come on. It's obvious to you and me. It might not be obvious to many others. But we steal from those animals. We steal their lives. Yeah. But more than that, we steal their babies. We steal their freedom. We steal the sunlight from them. Animals raised for food, most of them never get to see the sunlight, never get to feel the ground underneath their feet. They don't get to choose friends. They don't get to turn around. They're tight, packed in a cage or tethered, or they don't get to choose who they love or who they have sex with. And then brahmacharya. Patanjali says if you become established in brahmacharya, then you will have good health. So if you don't abuse others sexually, you will feel that vitality. So, and then aparigraha, greedlessness. He says if you become established in greedlessness, not taking too much, just taking what you need, what you truly need, not everything you want. Right. Because true needs are not wrong, it's the wants that are causing all the problems in the world, right? And Patanjali says if you become established in greedlessness, and this is probably the most profound thing, he says, you will realize why you were born. You will understand your destiny. You will understand the purpose of your life. I mean, everyone wants to know, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? So all of those answers will come. Right. So that's a very good reason to choose a vegan diet. Those karmic effects of your actions.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why you just brilliantly articulated all of that, and this is why I'm on such a mission to get people onto the yogic path, because there are so many gifts that come, when you get on the path and when you study and when you practice. And what else is Jivamukti known for? What makes Jivamukti different than other brands of yoga?
We teach asana as it was defined by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra. So a lot of people will say, oh, I like Jivamukti because it's about veganism and political activism and Sanskrit and meditation and music, and it's the spiritual type of yoga. And I say, well, actually, it's the very physical. I feel that I teach a very physical kind of yoga, and I focus on asana.
Yeah. It is
I focus on asana.
Practice. It is a challenging
Why? Because Patanjali says, sthira sukham asanam. Patanjali defines, the Sanskrit word asana, means connection to the earth. What is earth? The planet, the environment, other animals, other human beings, all of life. So Patanjali says the practice of asana is done to refine your connection, your relationships to all beings, to all those others. And he says, if you want yoga, your relationship to others should be mutually beneficial.
Right.
Okay, this is radical because we live in a culture, a global culture, which has told us the opposite, that happiness will come if you deprive others of happiness. You take from others what you want, then you'll get that. Not for long. Most wealthy people are not the happiest people on the planet. So it's like happiness comes to the one who brings happiness to others. That's the formula.
Yeah.
Whatever you want for yourself, provide it for someone else first. So if you provide freedom for those animals, you will feel that liberation. You will experience mukti. You will become a Jivamukta, living liberated. So asana, our bodies are made of our karmas. So everything we've ever done in relationship to others, because that's what where our actions come from. Our actions of thought, word, and deed are all connected to relating to others. Yes?
Yes.
So it's all in our bodies. So specific asanas have to do with addressing specific relationships. And this is how we teach it here in Jivamukti. Standing asanas have to do with the Muladhara chakra, or our karmic relationships with our parents, with home, with money, with the planet Earth. So environment, landlords, bosses, professions, parents, all of that. So if we feel not stable in Trikonasana or Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog, it can be linked back to those types of relationships. And we can purify those relationships by practicing those specific asanas.
Doing the physical practice.
Those specific asanas, the standing asanas. But yoga is whatever you want it to be. It's empty. So it's your intention that can make it a practice that will bring you to enlightenment. But it can have other results. It can make you strong, flexible. In fact, it can even take you away from yoga. It can make you very arrogant. It all depends on what you're thinking about as you're practicing. Yes, like anything. Any action, the intention behind an action is always more important than the action. Patanjali says this in the Yoga Sutra, that the result of any sequence of events will be determined by your intention. So you can perform, practice, engage in asana for enlightenment, but you have to be very astute, and you have to want enlightenment so much that you're thinking about these karmic relationships. Like the whole forward bending category of asanas has to do with Svanistana chakra, second chakra.
Yeah, sacred.
What relationships do we hold there that are unresolved? Relationships that we've had with past sexual partners, creative partnerships, like artistic partnerships, children. So if you have unresolved issues that you're not comfortable with. Because asana is about being comfortable with your body, which really means being comfortable with your karmas, being comfortable with your relationships, because that's what our body is. It's just a container that we're carrying around all those relationships with. Twisting asanas, that's our relationship with others that we have hurt. Manipura chakra. So if we've hurt animals, twisting is going to be challenging for us, right? But it's also an opportunity to purify those karmas. If we think about it as we're twisting, that we want to let go of that kind of misguided direction inside of us that has told us that by hurting others, we're going to gain something for ourselves. I mean, that's the underlying reason why people eat meat and dairy products. So they think they're going to get some benefit for themselves. They may even know, oh, the poor animals, yes, but I need this for my own health. And
misguided is a great word for that.
Misguided. We've all been subject to misinformation.
Yeah, it's the social conditioning. I mean, it's everywhere.
We've been told by our parents, by our people that we respect.
The doctor when you're a baby.
All of that, So then the back bending, the next category of asana, affects the anahata chakra. And we hold there our relationships with others who we feel have hurt us. And it's hard to let go. But we have to, if we want enlightenment, we have to forgive them. And if we can understand that everybody, just like ourselves, are doing their best at the time that they do it, it's easier to forgive. And so that helps in vegan activism too. Not blaming others, not dividing the world into good guys and bad guys, meat eaters and the vegans.
Us and them,
No, but kindness. Kindness is the way. And then the Vishuddha chakra, the next chakra, the asanas that are connected there, Slamba Sarvangasana, Halasana, the whole shoulder stand sequence, and the karmic relationships that we hold here, the relationship with ourselves, our ego, our personalities. We have to, Patanjali says, you have to at least believe that enlightenment is possible for you. You see, how we treat others will determine how others treat us. And how others treat us will determine how we see ourselves. And how we see ourselves will determine who we are. So if we want to see ourselves as enlightened beings, which we should if we're practicing yoga, that's the aim, then it starts with how we treat others. We must treat others as holy beings, as enlightened beings. And so definitely we shouldn't hurt them, shouldn't eat them. We should have respect for them, no matter who they are. A human being, a dog being, a cat being, a cow being, a green being. We should have respect. And then the Ajna chakra. When we do the asana child seat and we put our head on the ground, we invoke humility. Humility is absolutely essential for enlightenment. Without it, you can't achieve enlightenment. You can't experience it. So we bow in the child seat and we stimulate the Ajna chakra and we bow to who? Our teachers. The karmic relationships that we've had with our teachers. If we don't have good relationships with our teachers, no yoga is possible. Sahasrara chakra, crown chakra, Shirsasana, standing on our head. So the karmic relationships there our relationship with God, the Supreme. Mm-hmm. So in this way, the practice of asana helps us to purify our karmas. Our karmas are what our bodies are made out of.
I've never heard it explained that way, the asana practice. Thank you.
Well, that's unique to Jivamukti.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we made up. It's all in the yogic philosophy.
Sure.
It's right there.
But you're shining a light on all of it, and you're focusing on it, and that's beautiful.
Well, we're teachers. We're all teachers here, and that's our destiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
To share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With anyone that will listen. And, you know, I think about the people that come to yoga, you know, for the physical practice, like for fitness reasons or whatever. And I like to think of yoga as like the gateway drug to higher consciousness that people don't really necessarily know. But even if they don't bring all this intention that you're speaking about, I like to think that people will, the enlightenment will, the consciousness will rise.
It won't unless you have that intention. The yoga philosophy is very clear that yoga will be whatever you want. It can take you, it can mire you deeper into avidya, into ignorance of your true self. You have to want the yoga to bring you to enlightenment. You have to want the yoga practice to purify your karmas. You have to want the yoga practice to help you become a kinder person. Because the power of your suggestion is the most powerful force working upon you. Yes. So, you know, to me, yoga is a very physical practice. Very physical practice. And we have lived in a culture which has had no respect for the physical, for Mother Earth, for women, for the creative force. In fact, we've lived in a culture that wants to exploit the physical, and has told us that the earth belongs to us. And if we own something, we're told we can do whatever we want with it. We don't have to think about the happiness of that forest, or that river, or that horse, or that dog, or that cow. If we own it, hey, it's mine. I can, if it's going to bring me some benefit or some profit, then I have the right to exploit. Well, yoga says the opposite. Yoga tells us the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. And that our happiness, our freedom is dependent on how well we can live in harmony with this earth and all other beings.
Thank God for yoga. I have that thought every day. I mean, I don't know where my life would be without yoga, right? I mean, it just completely changes the trajectory of your life in such a positive direction.
But that's because you have that intention. You know, washing dishes, serving food could bring about that enlightenment if your intention was that as you were doing those activities.
Yeah, being of service and being fully present.
Bhagavad Gita talks about this, that whatever you're doing, if you remember the Supreme while you're doing it and do it as an offering, then the yoga will come to you. The remembrance of who you are, the remembrance of God, of your connection to God. Or you can stand on your head, or you can bend forward. You know, those activities are more direct because they go directly to the samskaras, the karmic tendencies. You know, it's like, why is it difficult for many people to sit still and meditate, to just be comfortable in their own skin. Well, if you've been eating meat and dairy products, it's like asking a serial killer to come in and be calm and quiet after murdering.
Right, violence.
Murdering 10, 12 people. Oh, and go home and just sit quietly. You can't do it. So if you're eating those animals, you're not going to be comfortable in your body. You're not going to be calm in your mind. You're going to be anxious.
Right. So
you're not going to have confidence. True self-confidence is confidence that comes with connection to the eternal self, that whose nature is Satchit Ananda. Mostly Ananda, bliss.
Right. So that answers the question of what's the best diet for a yogi.
Vegan!
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Vegan is
Sharon.
the kindest diet. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time and all your wisdom and having this school and teaching people and putting these yoga teachers out into the world who are sharing this philosophy more far and wide, and this amazing book that you wrote, Yoga and Vegetarianism, and you have a great recipe book, and you're putting so much information out there to help uplift consciousness and raise consciousness and get people on the path of yoga, and really I love that you're so focused on the perfect diet for a yogi. Thank you so much.
My honor, and thank you for your doing such great work to uplift this world.
Yeah, we're doing it together. Namaste.
We do it together.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show, and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste. Today's episode is brought to you by the Conscious Eating 101 e-course. This is a 6-week online course aimed at empowering you to make food choices that are in alignment with your values. The program is based on ahimsa, also known as non-harm, and helps you make every bite that you take an expression of love, self-love, animal love, and planet love. The course offers 15 lessons and 20 nutritious and delicious recipes and is offered over 6 weeks that you can do at your own pace. It includes lessons like plant-based nutrition, protein, dairy alternatives, the story on sugar, GMOs, label reading, and many more. If you're looking to increase your health and happiness, balance your weight, reduce your footprint on the planet, and align your food choices with your values, or are interested in being part of the solution to huge world problems like climate change, rainforest destruction, and world hunger, then this is the course for you. If this speaks to you, please check out consciouseating101.com today.